Hello, everyone out there, everywhere, anywhere listening to this particular episode at this time. And if you don't know already, this is the Contemplative Currents podcast by Seye Kuyinu, and that's the voice of who you're hearing right now. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about letting go of even the idea of religion or spirituality for that matter. And this is really inspired by my last Substack post, which was about letting go of ideas, beliefs, concepts, and ideas or ideologies as a whole. And I want to talk about the nuances of letting go of any of these ideas or concepts, any concept at all. But I want to really inspired. One other thing that inspired this post was a chat I had with a friend who read my last Substack post and had some thoughts. So I wanted to use this opportunity to reply to even that conversation. So Tony, if you're here carrying this right now, you don't know this, but this is a reply to our conversation, text conversation here. So I want to start with what it means to hold on to anything at all. And in holding on to something, it means that we're we're not letting go, or rather it means that we're holding on. And when we hold on to something, it just means that we probably won't be able to hold on to any other thing until we let go of the thing that we are holding on to. So when we hold on to anything, we have to consider that we're probably not even going to be able to receive more things. So the idea of letting go of even, and in the context in which I'm presenting this idea today or this topic today, it's on the idea of even religion or spirituality in the first place. I know off the bat, off the top, or for anyone who's listening to this, is like, oh my God, what do you mean let go of the idea of religion or spirituality? Then what happens after that? That's a valid question. The question, and if I should ask this question right here and now, is what then happens when we let go of these religion, of religion at all, or even the idea of spiritual practices or spirituality as a whole? What happens? What does it mean to truly let go of even our ideas of religion? You know, I, I'm aware that for some practices, our religious practices and our temples, our churches, our mosques, our meditation practices, all these things, it, in one sense, they help us to ground ourselves in something that's other than oneself. No doubts about that. But I think when we dig deeper into why we even have these practices at all, and why these, whichever practice it is grounding us in the first place, we have to even examine what that really means. And um for me, I find that in any of the things that we hold on to, they tend to provide us with a safety net. So what do I mean by this? uh, for anything that we are holding on to that we find hard to let go of, there's something at the back of our holding on to that we do not want to let go of because of a fear, because it provides, our holding on provides some form of safety. But like every other thing that's external to us, safety can never and will never be found in anything that's outside of ourselves. It just would never be. If we feel safe in whatever it is that's outside of ourselves, whether it's a religion, our guns, our money, our relationships, if we really look at it, we'll start to see that they never really do provide any of the safety that we think they do. As a matter of fact, it's just a thought that says those things provide or are providing us with safety. It's like me believing that if I wore a particular clothing, for instance, then I'm not going to be accosted by, I'm not going to be mugged by by an armed robber on the streets, right? And so because I've done it so many times, I've worn that clothes so many times in a dark alley, I believe that it is working. So if someone says, "Hey, remove that clothes and or wear something totally different," I probably will be I won't feel safe because I'm like, "Oh, this today is the day I'm going to be mugged if I don't wear this particular piece of clothing." Right? So it's the same thing that I see with any of our any practice that we think has any that holds so much weight, or so that provide us with a lot of utility. Now, see, don't get me wrong. Concepts, beliefs, ideas, they are utility. They are useful. I'm not saying that they're not useful. I'm not saying that they do not help. I mean, when it comes to spiritual practices and all of that, I'm one who meditates. I pray. Um I I I consult with scriptures, for inspiration, for learning, for correction. Do all these things. Well, we have to realize that um, they are useful, but in their use, we have made, traditionally speaking, we have made them more important than what they are actually used for. So imagine being more interested in a fork than the food you're eating. That's kind of what we do is with these labels of our practices and spirituality and religion. Well, it doesn't even matter which practices, and it doesn't matter which religion. That's what we've done. We've exalted the fork and forgotten about the food itself. Or it's like spending so much time learning about the fork that we don't even know much about our food, though we believe that we know much about the food by learning about the fork, by spending so much time washing the fork, by spending so much time learning the material of the fork. We somehow equate that to knowing about the food. Or you don't know that, like, for the most part, it's almost even like you spend so much time with the fork that you probably don't even have an idea about or about how the food can be eaten with other pieces of cutlery apart from a spoon, or apart from a fork rather. Right? So it's the same thing with our ideas that we hold so strongly. They're just exactly like holding so strongly to a fork, and believing that you're holding on to the fork is what makes the food good. So, like anything, what does it mean to let go of strongly held beliefs? What would it feel like if we could let go of any of our ideas, our concepts? And by letting go here is realizing that they are not fundamental. They are, like I said earlier, they're tools, but all tools can be let go of. We can acknowledge them, we can acknowledge the usefulness, but we can put them aside just so that we can enjoy the meal. So, what do would it truly feel like to drop some of these tools of our strongly held beliefs about anything? It doesn't even matter what it is, about anything. I would say that um I would say that when we let go, what becomes so obvious is the awareness, or awareness of the ever so concrete moment. It's the We begin to understand, or we begin to experience the visceral present moment. And in the present moment, what's so obvious is that ideas and beliefs are not as are not that as essential. And because they are not as essential, we can look at them and still use them. I know it sounds like a paradox, right? And I'm trying to still find the best way to explain this. When we are so present in the moment, what we realize is concepts and ideas are just thoughts. They're held only in the mind as thoughts. And in if you really look closely, you will see that there's no reality to any ideas. There's no reality to any concept. And that applies for our ideas and our concept around our practices, our religious or spiritual practices. They're just ideas. Now, when we are able and when we are ready to let go of any of these practices, any of these how we hold on to our spiritual experiences, y- y- there's a freedom that it's so hard to express this, but there's a freedom that shows up, a freedom that allows us to see that there's nothing outside ourselves, nothing, absolutely nothing outside ourselves. There's a completeness in knowing that all that we ever have is here in this moment. And in that knowing is wisdom. Wisdom just shows itself. It's, I could talk about this for I could spin and talk about this narrative for 2 hours, and it would not make sense until one has a personal experience of seeing this truth. But once again, the great paradox of all of this is yet another idea. And it's another idea that can actually be tossed. Um, but look, at the core of it, the only thing that really is true is not our ideas, but our 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 direct experience of reality. And so when we look in within our direct experience of reality, you see that no religion, no concept, no spiritual practice is ever, ever, ever primary. What is primary is the knowing of all experience, or knowing of the experience itself. What's primary is awareness. And so when we look at our true selves, when we look at ourselves, clearly look at ourselves, um, going beyond any of our spiritual practices, what we see is that there's always there's only there's only the self. There's only now. There's only you. There's only life. It's so self-evident, and it's so self-evident, but we don't see this once again because we blind ourselves to our ideas. We blind ourselves to our concepts. We blind ourselves to our belief systems. We take our belief systems to be more real than what is real. And what is real is the self, or in more spiritual lingo, what is real is God. I hope this at least uh awakened something in you, the listener. I hope that in reading or picking be between the silence of my words, you can see the deeper truth in this. All right, fellas, that's wrapping up this episode of the Contemplative Currents podcast by Seye Kuyinu. And I hope to record something this time next week. If you're listening to this for the first time, you can find some of my articles my essays on Substack. It's Seye Kuyinu, SEYEKUYINU.substack.com. I also have a link in the show notes here to some of the other things that I'm doing here. All right, fellas, grace and peace be unto you.